Right, hey guys and girls, how you doing? Here with Lisa today, and today we thought we'd spend a little bit of time because we've been getting a lot of questions on it, and obviously taking a lot of athletes through it. But it's goal setting, and we've been through a fair bit ourselves, haven't we, Lisa? So we want to spend the next we want to spend the next 15 minutes or so. We'll see how we go. We might get carried away like we usually do, but the next 15 minutes or so, just talking through how important the why is. And how important it is that you find out really what your why is in relation to your goals. So you've been through this process a few times, haven't you, Lisa?
Yep. And you know, like we all talk about setting and how important it is, but we don't know. And one of the main things that when you're setting a goal is that it has to be, you have to understand your why, and you have to go really dive deep on this why. It's not, so what you need to do is to ask yourself, let's take the example of, I want to run a marathon in 6 months. Okay. Just as an example, it could be, I want a promotion in my job. I want to finish my degree, whatever it is. But let's just take a marathon as an example. Why do you want to run this marathon in 6 months' time under 4 hours? What is it that's actually getting you? It might be, I really want to be a good role model for my children. I want them to see me doing something great. I want to get fitter and stronger. I want to be around for my children when they're later. These might be your answers, okay? And then you've got to look at the deeper layer. Well, why do you want to be a good role model for your children? So you're looking at it's like peeling back the layers of an onion. There's another layer underneath and another layer underneath. And those are the deeper layers of your why that we're trying to get to. And, it really doesn't matter if these are, the why has negative connotations or positive. I'll give you an example. When I was a young girl and I'd been put down for many years that I was useless at running, I was no good at it. So I really wanted to prove to certain people that I was not useless and that I was good. And that's a negative connotation, really. It's a negative motivation, shall we say. But it doesn't really matter, because the power behind that, because I was so emotive and I was so emotionally invested, it really helped power my motivation to achieve the goals that I set out to do. So I wanted to prove them. I wanted to give the big finger to the people that had told me that I was useless. And that was a driving force. Now, why was that important? Because, when you're in the middle of the Sahara somewhere, for example, and you're dehydrated and you're exhausted and you feel like passing out, and you're just thinking, why the hell am I doing this? Now, if you've got an answer to that question when that tough time comes, then that is going to help you get through that middle part of it when it's really tough going, and help you push on through. So understanding, and I would be safe in that situation. You can't let that person, you can't prove them to be right. You've got to push. And that would help me get through that tough part of the process, if you like. And every goal will have tough parts. It's all very good that we set these big lofty goals and the beginning we're all full of motivation, excitement and stuff, and then comes the reality of the daily grind of what it's going to take to run that marathon or whatever it is. And that's the time when you need to have those strong motivating reasons and really know and understand your why. Hey, Neil.
I think the real big takeaway for those of you watching at home is pick up a pen now, pick up one of these and just write down on a piece of paper, write down why. Okay, so Lisa said there on many, many occasions, she probably got into double figures with the amount of times she said why, how many times she said it, and the amount of times she talked about being emotional. Okay, so regardless of, as she said, whether it's negative or positive, she also mentioned the onion. Peel back the layers. You want to get to the part in the middle where it's actually making you cry a little bit. So if you write down your why, and you write it down again and again and again, and keep asking, because by asking why a minimum of 5 times, if you can get like Lisa did into 10, 12, 15 times, you'll keep asking it and keep taking you on a journey till you establish, wow. And a lot of people that we work through with this often get quite shocked as to what the reason is and feel emotional about it, because they might have started with just running a marathon and realise they're actually doing it for their kids to be a great role model, and so that their kids look up to them. It could be a real strong health reason that they don't want to die of the same disease that their parents did. But once you get there, it becomes such a strong driving force that it's just key to moving forward. So write it down, get the pen out, the paper, write it down, and really go through that process. And if you've got any questions, just give us, drop one of us an email. and we can definitely help you through that process. The next bit, Lisa, is really working out you're on a road, and you've got two roads you can take. One is towards pleasure and your goals, and the other one is away from your goals and towards pain. But we want you to understand that once you've got your why, as you go on this journey, you're going to be given a lot of decisions you've got to make along the way. And those decisions will often be as short as 30 seconds. So to give you an example, I may need to go out and run tonight, and I may take the easier option of ordering a pizza instead, which will give me some short-term pleasure. It's going to give me long-term pain because I'm not going to get anywhere near my goals.
Yeah.
On the flip side, if I take the harder decision, or one that's going to require more discipline, which is getting home after my day at work, putting on my shorts, putting on my trainers, putting on my top and going out and running, once I get out, I'm going to love it because I'm close to my goal. But the initial decision-making process might have been a little bit tougher. It would have taken more discipline and more control. So once you've got your why, and you alluded to this earlier, the journey isn't always going to be smooth. You've got some tough decisions to make, but you're going to want to make some harder decisions that take you towards long-term pleasure. That make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's either suffer the pain of discipline now, and we all know that discipline can be very painful. It's hard to get yourself out the door to go for that run or to get out of bed early or whatever it is that you need to do. But it's much less pain than the regret. Don't do it. It's a much worse pain. With the journey that I've been on with my mum coming back from a massive aneurysm, the daily grind that I have to put her through, the discipline that I have to have in order to get her back is not pleasurable. And as soon as I'm away from her and go away for a day or something for speaking or whatever, she heads towards pleasure, going out with my brothers or whatever and having coffees and sitting around and that's taking her away from a long-term goal, and I have to keep bringing her back on track to keep her focused on where we're going. And we all need someone to give us a bit of a shove along and a bit of a help along. But the thing is, it's natural inclination as humans to want to have that pleasure. I mean, that pizza, that sitting on the couch, that being lazy, that not doing your homework, that not doing... We all fight with that on a daily basis, and it's overcoming that 30 seconds where that intense impulse is to do that. If you can overcome it for 30 seconds, often what you'll find is if you can just say, well, I'm going to put my shorts on and then I'll see, and my shoes, and then I'll see. And then by then when you've done that thought about not doing it is gone already. If you can just get yourself over that little hump.
The why is strong enough, it will get you there. And that's really what we want to reinforce. And I think the example there with your mum, and you guys have done amazingly well. It's so beautiful to see. It's so great to see. And it's looking at that. You're there to keep your mum accountable. So yes. having some accountability there. So now you've got the why. You understand that you've got to take small steps. You understand it's going to be tough. Is put it out there. You do this so well. You put it out there publicly. You let people know what you're going to do. And you've always said to me, I'll be sitting here trying to work out what order I'm doing things in, and you'll be like, Neil, just don't worry about it. Just put it out there. We'll worry about the other bits as we go. So it's such a good way of doing it. And that way you've got those people around you to keep you accountable.
Absolutely. When I commit to something and I'm excited in the moment and I sign up for a race and this is going to be great. And the reality of it hits me and I'm thinking, well, what the hell have I got myself into? But I've already publicly committed. There's no way to back out now looking like a turkey. And so invariably I'm a turkey. So I go through with it, or at least really, focus on trying to get there, successful or unsuccessful. That's, another topic for failures and learning to deal with them. But it's sitting there, it's signing up in that excitable phase. And even when you don't know how the hell you're going to do it, it's having that gumption and that passion to go, well, I'm going to give it a try. I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but here we go. And taking that sort of leap into the blind, into the darkness, so to speak, and hoping that there's ground under your feet when you land.
I mean, that's spot on as well, mate, is as well. Now you've put yourself in that position, you've done it. The next question that we always love asking our athletes, and you and I have asked each other before, is, right, now we've done this, where do we see ourselves in 6 months' time? So we're looking in the mirror. What do we look like? What's changed? What's different? How are we going to make sure that we've got that result? And we'll go through the process of looking at everything from what we're wearing to what it's going to be like on the start line to, you know, what the smells are like, what the environment's like. So really, really believing in it and visualizing it. So talk us through the visualization side a little bit more, Lisa.
Yeah. So that is a technique called visualization, and this is something that every athlete employs. If you watch an Olympic athlete, say a pole vault or something that's about ready to go for their jump, right? And you can see them talking to themselves, their mouths are going, they've got this, and you can see them working it through in their head. Every step of the run up to jump and do this pole vault or whatever, or a long jump or whatever it is. And you can see nation. And if you do that as in you know, okay, we're not jumping over her doing a marathon, but we're visualizing ourselves in the race, or we're visualizing ourselves graduating at that ceremony with our degree or getting our promotion. And what you're doing when you do this sort of thing is that you become like, your brain does not know whether this is just a dream and a fantasy that you're creating or it's reality. The brain doesn't distinguish. And so when you repeat over and over and over in your head, and feeling great and running along powerfully and crossing that finish line with your arms outstretched, and all those visual things that, and the deeper you can go, the better. Like the more color and feeling and emotion and smells, and even if you don't exactly know what it's going to be like in this event or this, you know, this goal that you're going for, you're visualizing it happening, and in your brain it becomes a fait accompli. It's already happened. So your brain is like, well, yeah, I've already done that. So when you're actually on that day, actually starting on the start line, you've already won in your head. You've already gone through that process so many times in your head that it's all just a matter of let's now do it. And that really, really helps. And you can, you know, watching Olympians doing that is just such a great example for us to use that visualization process. And to just take a little bit of time every day to focus on, because when you focus, there's something in your brain called the reticular activating system. Now, this is something that all the input that's coming in goes through this RAS system, except smells, they go direct somewhere else, but the rest will go through the system, and your brain picks out what is important and what is actually going to get access to the 3 pounds of the rest of your brain. So if you say, I want to buy a red sports car, yeah? So all of a sudden, if I put that goal in my head, I'm going to buy a red sports car, that's my goal. All of a sudden, I'm going to be seeing around town red sports cars going past. And every time one does, I will remember it, because that RAS knows that that's important to me and I'm focusing on that. So it will help me recognize those things. It will help you recognize patterns. It will help you recognize what social contexts are important for you. It'll find things that it will say, hey, you want to run this marathon in 6 months. Is this something that's going to help you? This magazine that's on the shelf there, or this video that you just saw on Facebook, maybe that's something that's going to help you. And this is happening on a subconscious level. And we have like 60,000 thoughts a day. And most of them just wash through and we couldn't remember them to save ourselves. But the ones where we have a goal, they often get caught in that filter and they stay, and we learn and we develop and we head towards that goal. And that's why it's so important to actually set SMART goals, which are specific goals. They are measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant and realistic, and they're time bound. SMART being the acronym for that. And that sort of really, really helps this whole process. So, Neil.
Yeah, 100%, Liz. I think some of the other things to pull out of what you just said there as well, with making things the reality and making sure that they become your norm. As you go through that process, you may feel a little bit crazy as you start to do it yourself and think about it and talk yourself up and go through the visualization, but do it. You'll feel crazy to start, definitely do it because it makes a difference. It becomes your reality, and what becomes your reality is real. So it becomes what you're doing every day. The other thing just to pull out as well is I've keep referencing the pen and pulling my pen out. I've got you to write down your why. The other thing to write down is your strong words. So Lisa described there what she thought about as she was visualizing and the things that come into her head and how the brain works. As you're doing that, there's going to be words that pop up. So there'll be words that pop up that you associate with going down the pleasurable road that we discussed earlier. Strong words. So it may be you understand that after you've been through the visualization that you're going to feel strong, powerful, like a superhero. You're gonna feel great. Write those words down. Those words you should be seeing every day, whether you write them in a notebook, up on a whiteboard, you stick them on your fridge. They want to be your powerful words. The other thing that we want you to do as well is ask yourself the same question. 6 months' time, if you're successful, how are you going to feel? How are you going to describe it? And write those words down. Also, in 6 months' time, if you don't succeed and you don't get to where you want to be, how are you going to feel then? And write those words down as well, because I guarantee, obviously, the feeling's not going to be as great. It's not going to be as strong. But that then becomes an incentive that if you find yourself going down the pain road, then you can look at those words. You can go to your accountability partners and the people you've told, and they're going to remind you that you're going to feel not as great as you would. You may feel less healthy. You may feel unwell. You may feel like you're a failure. We don't like those feelings. Take the pleasurable route. Use your visualization. Use the strong words, and then move forward in that direction.
Yep. And another point on there, I think, is also breaking massive, big, scary, audacious goals down into very bite-sized pieces. So I have a story here that I share often when I'm speaking about when I was about to run through New Zealand. Now, this was a massive project, as you can imagine, 2,252 50 Ks in 42 days. And I was so busy in the preparations that I actually never sat down to think, what does that actually mean to run 2,000? I didn't do enough visualization. And then I was standing at the start line, because I've been so busy and hectic and I was standing on the start line about to start, 6 a.m. in the morning in Bluff, and then all of a sudden I had a panic attack, and I just had this elephant sit on my chest, and it was like, I can't breathe. I've got like 2,250 kilometers. I've never run a distance like that in this period of time. What the hell was I thinking? And I had a panic attack. And I went over to my mum, who is always the most wisest person on the planet, had a big crying session and said, Mum, I can't do it. I'm freaking out. And she calmed me down, gave me a big hug as mums do. And then she said to me, Lisa, focus on the next half an hour. All you've got to do is get to that power pool up there, that next half an hour. Let's get you through the first hour. Let's get the crew moving and rolling, and we'll take it one step at a time, 1 hour at a time. Don't lift your focus up to 2,200 kilometers, because that will scare the bejeebers out of you. That would scare anyone. But if you can focus on just today, on just the next step, on the next part of your process that you need to do to complete it, then you inch your way forward. And ultra marathons are very much a great analogy for life, because if you just take those little steps, suddenly you turn around and you realize, shoot, I just ran 2,000 something kilometers, and I did it. And time passes and you will get there if you can just keep believing and keep breaking it down into those bite-sized pieces. Just like the saying goes, how do you eat an elephant? I hope you'll never eat an elephant, but if you were to, you would take it one small bite at a time, so it's breaking it down into those achievable little chunks and working out your sub-goals. So you have your big, hairy, audacious goal. Mine was 2,000 something kilometers. So that was broken down into, I have to run 70 kilometers today. Okay, that means I have to run 30 kilometers before lunchtime. Okay, that means I have to run X amount of kilometers in the next hour, and the next, couple of hours I have to, so you're breaking it down into the next set of tasks and the next set of tasks, and each part of that is taking you towards this big giant goal that you want. And it's having the patience, and it's having the belief in the process, and that time will pass. One of my favorite sayings in the world is, this too will pass. When you're in the deep crap, when things are going custard, or even when you're winning, know that this feeling will pass. So whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, time is just keeping marching on, and you will actually get to your goals, and you will achieve, and you'll overcome if you can just not give up when it gets tough,
Gold, mate. Absolute gold. So if we start to wrap things, tie things up and bring things together for those that are watching, the biggest takeaways we've got is, so find your why. And you can never ask yourself when you're going through it, you write down why, write down what your goal is, and ask why at least 5 times. If you can get it up to asking 10 times and you're still answering, remember you're peeling back the layers of the onion, make yourself cry a bit. It needs to be emotional. Okay, We talked about visualization. So make it real. Take yourself forward 6 months. 6 months time, what does it look like? What do you look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? Make it real. Use your brain. So, okay, you took us through that so well, Lise. Use your brain to, again, make it a reality. If you start thinking about buying a red sports car, as you said, you're going to start seeing them. The more you think about your goal, the more it become your reality. If it's your reality, it's real. We looked at accountability. Like, great, obviously your story with your mum and how well your mum's doing. You've kept her accountable. It's not always pleasurable every day, but you're taking some of the time. You've got to have that discipline each day to make the right choice. Okay, and then move towards. You need to have someone there who's going to be accountable. We then looked at, what else am I missing, Lisa? We talked about
public commitments. You know,
public commitment. Good.
Something, because then you're more likely to have that accountability, and taking a leap of faith that you don't always know the path or how the hell you're going to train for that 200k race in the Himalayas or whatever. You don't know how the hell that's going to go, or what's actually, but you know, when you sign up, just know that you're going to take the next step, and then you'll see where the next step is, and then you'll take that one, and then you work it out. And you know, sometimes you don't make it and you fail, and that's a subject for another day. But the other thing that you missed there was that 30 seconds. If you can get overcome that impulse to stick that chocolate in your mouth for 30 seconds, or to not go out the door and go running, if you can overcome it and say, well, I'm going to put my shoes and my socks on and my shorts on, and then I'll see how I feel. And invariably, if you can get yourself through that 30 seconds or a minute time where that impulse was really strong to sit on the couch and do nothing, then you've won half the battle. If you can just, you know, use little wee tips and tricks and tools to get yourself into that movement.
I think this is and that it ties it together so well. And I think what we'll do is we bring this onto a close, guys. Lisa mentioned SMART goals in our next little webinar. We will go into more detail on SMART goals and pull those a little bit apart. But to be perfectly honest, if you haven't got your why and you don't fully understand your why, then the SMART goals aren't going to make a blind bit of difference. So you got to understand the why first. So guys and girls, if you've enjoyed what we've been talking about and you want to explore your why in a little bit more detail with us, you can find out more about what we do at runninghotcoaching.com. You can find out more about the goal setting and the packages and coaching we've got on offer there. We've got a lot of our athletes who've been through this process are doing some pretty special things. Hey, Lisa?
Oh, hell yeah. One's going to Death Valley in a couple of weeks, so that's pretty exciting.
So we've got some cool things, and the people we're working with as well, don't think it's just for those working at the top of the sport. We're helping people go from 5k right the way through to ultra marathon. So if you want to find out more about your why, with big focus on what we do with health as well. So you'll get a true holistic approach to what we're doing. As we take you through your why, we're going to include your family in the process. We're going to include your work commitments, the time constraints you've got, and make sure that as you go forward, we want to give you longevity in the sport. Okay, it's about longevity, so we're going to consider your health fully as well.
Yeah, so once again, to reiterate, this is for people. So our running coaching programs, really holistic. They're aimed at everybody from absolute beginners. I don't care if you haven't even run to the letterbox yet, but you want to become a runner, then we can show you how to do it. It's not just for elite athletes. Please reiterate that 100 times. We look at the whole picture, because we know that the higher traditional old high mileage models just aren't cutting it for most who've got careers and families and a whole lot of other stresses. We have to train time efficiently. We need to have our mobility workouts, our strength workout, we need our nutrition guidance, our supplementation guidance. A big part of what we do is mindset, like we've talked about today, and then also, of course, your actual running. So that makes up our whole package of what we actually do with our Running Hot coaching programs. I also have a Mindset Academy that teaches just about mindset and motivation and dives deep in there. And we also have health programs. So we have a whole gambit of stuff that can help you live a better life. And we're very passionate about changing lives. That's why we do this, why we love it. And Neil and I have over 45 years combined experience running the toughest events in the world. I've been doing that for the last 25 years, which makes me extremely old. And Neil's here, so he's about a little bit younger.
A little bit younger.
And we've coached absolutely hundreds of athletes. Yeah, he looks younger. Hundreds of athletes from all around the world, from all levels, and we really enjoy our job. So come and check us out at runninghotcoaching.com, and we'll see you guys again soon. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for joining us, guys. See you soon.